Mr. Hern, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for having this important meeting. You know, as a person who actually lived on food stamps many years ago when I was young, and 4 siblings younger than me lived on food stamps, you know, we have this debate about what can food stamps buy today, SNAP, let's call it what it is. And there's a debate about, as one of my colleagues said, is that, well, the rich people get this. There was a time when that wasn't so. I remember standing in line with my mother, and she would buy some of these things that we're saying are just for everybody now, and I would have to take them back. You know, you always get called by your middle name when your mother's trying to get your attention. She said, "Kevin Ray, you can't buy that, and so you got to put it back." And so there was a time when we cared about nutrition a lot in our families as we were trying to move people onto their feet. So I've got a series of questions. Dr. Hyman, I saw you this morning. I said, you know, usually I have a big diatribe, then I ask like 2 questions real hurriedly and use all my time. But, you know, we do have a nexus, and it's kind of a real tough situation. You all are giving us a problem, and Dr. Murphy said this a minute ago. We hear these problems all the time, but nothing's getting solved. It's getting worse, and that's got to be extraordinarily frustrating. I know you are, because we talked last night and again today. So I'm just going to run through some questions. So you've given us the numbers on obesity, what it is in the United States and how it's continued to grow. So my question is, are we still measuring, you know, we get hung up on things being measured differently today than they were 10, 20, 30 years ago. Are we still measuring obesity the same way today that we did 10, 20, 30 years ago?
Yes, it's defined as overweight as a body mass index of 25 or more, obese is 30 or more. And when I graduated medical school, there wasn't a single state with an obesity rate over 20%. Now there's not a single state with an obesity rate under 30, and most are well over 40. 42% is the national rate. By 2030, it's estimated that 1 in 2 Americans will not be overweight, but obese.
So you're saying that we have not changed the numbers to make the problem look worse?
No, the definition's the same. I mean, we can talk about BMI as a valuable metric or not, because body composition turns out to be more important. If you're someone like The Rock, you're a big guy, your body mass index is very high. It doesn't mean you're overweight. It means you have a lot of muscle. So the definitions are not as clear, but I think the problem we're facing is one of a metabolic dysfunction, which has to do with insulin resistance, which is driven by sugar and starch in our diet, and that is what's driving most of the chronic disease, from heart attack to strokes to cancer to diabetes.
Well, I'm not a doctor, didn't mean to interrupt you, but while I'm not a doctor like my 2 esteemed colleagues are, you know, I spent a lifetime in business and understanding human nature and was pretty successful at it. And I'm probably pretty successful still to this day. And there's a lot of really smart people that could, if I could do things for you, I would, but I can't. So we have to incentivize people.
That's right.
And in my world of business, and we all worked in the same models, we all have businesses, but the ones who are really, really successful understand what motivates people to be better in themselves. They don't have to be the most educated, but they can be the best themselves. And it's got to be extraordinarily frustrating, because you all see the end game. If you don't, you're not going to live as long, friends, if you're obese. It's just not going to happen. Or if it is, you're living on borrowed time. And so we're trying to tell people this, but it doesn't change anything. It's only getting worse, as you all have all described. So why is that? Why do people want to live shorter lives? You know, in that day and age when things are instant gratification, we have to figure out how to incentivize people, even beyond their own knowledge or capability, because we know that's going to be good for them. And that's where we need to move into, what are the solutions? We deal with taxes on this. We deal with tariffs. We deal with all the problems, but it takes a special transition into what are the solutions to this. You can regulate every single business out of the food business. I spent 35 years in McDonald's, very proud of it. My kids can't gain weight, but they were very active, very athletic, stayed busy all the time. We didn't let them sit on the couch watching video games. They were working daylight to dark, which meant we were as well. But there's a part to this. One of the fastest growing places in the world on density of restaurants is China. Mm-hmm. Every major brand that we would demonize, if you all did it openly, in the United States today are in China because China wants them there. So the Chinese people are very active. They walk a lot. High density populations, they're walking a lot. So there's a lot of opportunities here for us to incentivize this. I'm a business guy. I like to figure out solutions. I'm an engineer. I like solutions. I get the problem. You guys have written tons of books. You've written tons of documents. So we don't have an information problem of describing the problem. Everybody in the world knows the United States is obese. Now we've got to move to the resolution, the solving of this. Yeah. You have got some great examples. We've got to figure out how we're going to put a study together and have some business people get involved in fixing this situation. I've got some really great ideas I shared with you last night. I'm going to move on it because who better than a guy that spent 35 years at McDonald's to find a solution to obesity? I think it's a great place to go. I want to say thank you all because it is a big deal. We're spending trillions of dollars. We spend trillions of dollars on the symptoms, but we're not solving the problem. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for bringing this up. I know it's a passion of yours. And thank you all for your hard work.